have great ideas, you can have great products, but they need to be manufacturable and they need to be efficient in manufacture. So actually that side of it, I think it's just that plastic is the worst thing in the world, and that should just be completely cancelled. It's a much more complex topic than that, and there's so many great things about plastic materials, and yes, we need to be responsible.
Felicity Boyce is a materials scientist who has spent her career building physical products in impact protection. She works at Koroyd, based in Monaco.
At Koroyd, we have over 15 years of innovation advancing protective solutions across head protection, body protection and hand protection. The origins of Koroyd came after an aviation disaster in the UK in the 1980s. In the interest of improving passenger safety, following this accident, studies were set out to try to understand the most efficient impact energy absorption structures for aviation applications.
Felicity is now building her first full R&D team from the inside of a company that is mid-integration and moving into a new facility. This conversation is very much in the middle of that. Most material scientists who are getting more responsibility each year at a growing company would stay put. Felicity left D3O voluntarily, not because of redundancy, not because of a better offer elsewhere, because she was worried about getting too deep into one niche before she had really tested herself elsewhere. She walked away from the upward curve deliberately. What she built next, from rented lab space in Brighton during lockdown, for a company in Monaco that she'd never visited, and a €40 million acquisition.
There were some issues we were having with some particular testing, and instead of us having to go to an external test lab, which could take weeks for us to get a testing slot, for example, or have to travel elsewhere, they just sent us their test equipment and we can be cracking on with solving those problems straight away.
But there's a question underneath all of this that does not go away. Does Monaco represent the sustainable path, or did you have to compromise to get there?
Yeah, it's definitely something. I think from some of my previous roles, I've been working in product development of consumer goods, spending a lot of time in factories, for example, in China, producing a lot of plastic-based components. And with obviously the evolving world and what we now know about waste materials and the reliance on fossil fuel materials.
This episode is about what it actually takes to build a materials career in physical products. The version without the polish, where you walk away from the good job, where you spend a year studying nappy recycling in Brighton, where you formulate materials alone from a rented lab for a company you've never set foot in. None of it looked like the plan at the time, all of it mattered.
That it's okay not to know what the future holds and where the path's going, but as long as you've got, a good support network, whether that's kind of personal, professional, or you're feeling well supported, then you don't need to necessarily know exactly what's happening next. You can just go with the flow, and you definitely will find your way.
This is Why Design. Felicity, welcome to Why Design. Absolute pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, great to be here. Very glad to be talking to you today.
Yeah, likewise. So I'm going to dive into Felicity. By the end of your KTP year at Brighton, you had two options on the table. One was to stay in the UK and help set up a nappy, or diaper for our American listeners, recycling facility on the outskirts of East Sussex. The other was to move to Monaco and join a material science company building the future of impact protection. Before we get into how you got there, I want to know what that decision actually felt like. The owner, you told me that the owner of Medisort was gutted when you left. What did you say to him, and what part of, and did any part of you wonder if you were making a mistake?
Yeah, well, I can actually remember when I told him, because we were going on a trip. We were on a trip to meet some potential investors in the project. So we had a long day ahead of us and started talking about the future. So I thought I've got to, nip it in the bud and tell him as soon as we get in the car. And he said, "Oh well, bet you were looking forward to this long car journey." But it was great. I mean, he was very very conscious of the options that I had on the table, and was very supportive of the decision that I made. But it wasn't as easy as potentially you make it sound. The project that I was working on there was really interesting, and I think a great opportunity in terms of learning and upskilling. And I think the whole topic of valorizing waste and looking at how we could be using our waste materials more responsibly, and the options there is a really interesting and deep topic. But like you said, I
Certainly
had
is, yeah.
another option on the table. I think I was just at a point of my life and my career where felt like a bit of an adventure, and moving to a different country to enable combining a bit of travel and adventure with career at the same time was a really interesting opportunity. I was in a position, I think, in my personal life where it didn't feel like too much of a big risk. My partner was able to move with me. So, yeah, it really just felt like the right decision. I think sometimes you just have to go with your gut on these things. I didn't have all the exact answers to know exactly what to expect or what the role was going to be or what the future held. But sometimes, like I said, you just got to go with your gut, and it just felt like a good move. I had a really good. I'd been working a little bit with the Koroyd team previous to that, so had some working knowledge of the team, and again, just a great team. Which when you know you're walking into a great team, you're going to have that support around you, and that's one the main driving thing for me, really. Not just the sunshine, it really was the team.
Sunshine helps,
Yeah,
and it helps make the yeah, makes people happy. There's a smile as well, so that certainly impacts the team in that respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, so having that having a freelancer kind of contracting kind of spell, kind of it gave you broadened your horizons, didn't it? It gave you access to companies and people that you wouldn't necessarily have met otherwise, and it made that big decision, to relocate yourself and your partner. It made it a lot easier because you already knew the team. But before Koroyd, then you'd been working towards a sustainability focused career, for a couple of years at that point. Does Monaco represent the sustainable path, or did you have to kind of compromise to get there?
Yeah, it's definitely something. I think from some of my previous roles, I've been working in product development of consumer goods, spending a lot of time in factories, for example, in China, producing a lot of plastic based components, and with obviously the evolving world and what we now know about waste materials and the reliance on fossil fuel materials. I think it's obviously something that you start to question when you're working in that kind of industry. So really questioned about how I could upskill myself and learn more about different paths or different options that would be sort of grounded in my chemistry background, but looking at different paths more focused in sustainability. I think it wasn't the key driving factor behind the role in Monaco. I tried to incorporate that into my role. So my role when I joined Koroyd was material innovation and sustainability. So really working on new materials, but trying to look at it with the sustainability angle as well, and try and focus on some of those projects. There are in Monaco actually some initiatives. So with the support of the Monaco government here, they do have quite a lot of green initiatives. So really trying to support companies within Monaco on any projects in that area. But yeah, it's definitely something that I sort of battled with internally based on my past experience and where I wanted the future of my career to go.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's a bit of a trope, isn't it? But when you think about recycling and think about sustainability in the UK, there's a lot of people think, oh, we're only a tiny country. I'm only one person. What difference can I make? So when a principality like Monaco is offering incentives, it's like it's quite interesting. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. Everyone's got to do their part, even if it's not on the company agenda or mandate. We can all do our part as part of the individual role as well. So
exactly, it's got to be a cultural aspect. It's got to be really, like you said, it's anything from recycling in the office to thinking about how we can improve our logistics operations functions. And I think it's really that mindset and that cultural approach that needs to be encouraged, and that's led obviously by innovation and funds that are supporting future innovation, but it needs to be ingrained in companies, I think, from the ground up. And I think we are seeing that shift, whether it's based on regulation or just based on awareness, education of end users and the general population. There's definitely a shift there, but like I said, it just needs to be culturally embedded in the company, I think, for it really to make a difference.
Absolutely. So take me back then to day one when you landed in Monaco. I'm guessing you might have had a couple of trips before then as a consultant, but for anyone, you're Koroyd are hiring at the moment, so this is a very active kind of or leading question. But what does day one look like when you arrive in Monaco? What's actually there?
Very complicated to get from the station to the office. I thought I'll be absolutely fine. I've got Google Maps, so I'll find my way. Left myself plenty of time. Got off the train to find my way to the office. But yeah, if you haven't been to Monaco, it's basically because it's built into the hillside, and you've got all these different levels. So there's escalators and lifts,
Okay.
elevators everywhere. So actually, Google Maps, if you're trying to walk anywhere, gets very lost because it doesn't actually know which level you're
The
on. So you're going
elevation,
in the right direction, but it doesn't know exactly where you are. So although it seems very small and easy to get around, it can be quite confusing when you first arrive. And it's one of those underground train stations where you've got to find exactly the right exit. Otherwise, you could end up coming out one side of Monaco versus the other. So that was a bit of a surprise. So yeah, it turned up a little bit of a rush on my first day, I can remember. And yeah, I think it was coming into the summer, so already getting that heat and humidity. But yeah, I arrived in the office here. Yeah, like you said, I'd been previously to the office, and actually when I first started some visits to Koroyd, they were still in a previous office actually, so already expanded into a new office. We're shortly moving into a new premises again as we continue to grow. But yeah, I was very excited to see the new office, which included some lab space there. So that was the main difference from the previous one. And yes, a small team in the office, but of course, very welcoming.
Yeah, awesome, and it's expanding as well, isn't it? So, but you'd already been obviously working with Koroyd remotely. You've been formulating materials for them from rented lab space in the UK. What was it like to finally be in the same room with the team that you've been working with remotely?
Yeah, it was great, and I think it came after that period. I mean, part of the reason I was working remotely was also due to sort of COVID. This was coming out the back end of all those crazy lockdowns and COVID times. So I think any ability to have that, face-to-face interaction, be back in the same room, working with people, being hands-on in the lab, I think, was just a really exciting time. I think everyone was just happy to be able to kind of have that freedom to collaborate again. So I think it was a good time to be back in the office. Everyone had been stuck at home. So yeah, very keen to just kind of crack on, like you said, get the lab up and running and be face-to-face with people. So yeah, no, it was an exciting time. I mean, we continue to work, like you said, with other colleagues who are remote from the office. So very flexible ways of working. But I think particularly for my job role, I've always been very hands-on, a lot of testing, a lot of prototyping. Very sort of product focus, albeit from the material angle, but very product focused. So being hands-on in the lab and with the team is just really the best place to be for me. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, in my experience, most people I speak to want to be in the office, in the studio, the lab, and the flexibility, like hybrid working or remote working, that's more of a lifestyle or, family commitments, etc. So that will rule out some opportunities. But given the choice, given that people want to be around people, especially in product development, and they want to be around the products and testing it. So it's great that you've got that set up there. So look, take me back to the beginning then, because you mentioned that you are, you studied chemistry, you're a materials scientist. If that's a kind of term that you kind of or a label you stick to yourself, but you studied chemistry, which is a broad enough degree that you could have ended up almost anywhere. When did the tangible physical side of material science start to feel like that, like yours? That was what you wanted to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it really came after university. Like you said, the the course was quite broad, so you cover a lot of different topics. In fact, I had quite an interest more on sort of the biochemistry side, so yeah, more links to biology at certain points during my course. But then it was really only after university, and I think I was just fortunate to find a role straight out of university when I moved back to my hometown around Brighton, and found a business there that was looking for someone with a similar background. I actually started working there for the head of IP. She had a background in chemistry and a PhD in chemistry, and been heading up the materials team there. So I started working for her on the IP side, and just had an interest in learning really more about that. And then an opportunity came up in the materials team as a lab technician. So it was really only in my first role that I started working more on that kind of the polymer science and more creating physical products. And I think straight away that just really resonated with me. I think sort of that bridge between sort of R&D and innovation, but also making like a real world product and having something tangible that you can sort of have your hands on, and you can really see the impact of the kind of work you're doing in a physical way. Just for me was something that suited me well, as opposed to the more kind of academic side of chemistry or theoretical side, for example.
Absolutely, yeah. You're much more likely to see the products you're working on, out in the wild, so to speak, being used by people, being used by yourself as well. So obviously there's a lot of important chemistry that happens, but a lot of it goes under the radar, or you only see it when you go to doctors or whatever it might be. So yeah, that's really interesting. It's D3O, wasn't it, that completely joined there for the best part of 5 years. Impact protection polymers, not a million miles away from what you're doing today. It's a very specific landing spot for someone, but it sounds like basically what you've said, that it was, partially it was geography and timing, and it seems as well, you've swapped one coastline for another, from Brighton to Monaco. But was there any intentionality about that, or was it essentially down to timing and placement?
I think looking back, reflecting now, you're out of university, you're kind of wondering what to do next. I think I was quite open to different options. So partly was the location at the time. I think I very quickly learnt, how important a work environment is and the culture of the company, which I guess if you look at the companies I've worked for, they tend to be quite small, potentially a bit more sort of sports focused. This kind of industry that I find quite interesting, and I think the people working in those industries are generally pretty great people, very very interesting, very sort of hands-on, I guess, kind of sporty leaning. Just the culture of the company, I think, is really something that I, like I said, very quickly understood to be one of the key driving factors in any kind of career choice or anything that I would make. And it was a very unique culture at D3O. Really great company to work for. I was lucky enough to have some really great mentors there, as well as make some very good friends. So really enjoyed my time there, and developed a lot of skills very fast. It was at a stage where it was growing very quickly, so really great time to be part of a company when it's kind of going through a growth phase. Some challenges there, of course, but when there's sort of change and challenges, there's also opportunities. So I think I, was just in a good position at certain points where I just had the opportunity to take on certain responsibilities or certain topics, just from sort of being open, I guess, and saying yes to different opportunities, and really accelerated my learning and my skills very quickly. And I think, again, like I said, sort of compared to the more academic environment for me, that was really where I started to thrive, and really kind of using those transferable skills I guess I'd learned from some of my studies, but kind of in the real world application, being in a factory, trying to troubleshoot exactly why you're having all, trouble running a new material or a new product. You can't get it to mold or demold, or really kind of getting in deep with something physical and something tangible was really just where I felt that I started to thrive, and just the learning curve once I got into that kind of real world job application was just exponential for me. And so learned a lot really with that team there.
And you can tell from our previous conversations that just now, you talk about trouble. You come to life when you talk about troubleshooting. You can tell it's clearly a passion, that problem solving and and making stuff happen. You also mentioned you had mentors along the way. First boss, I think she had a PhD in materials science. She became an IP attorney as well, so she sounds pretty formidable. What did what were some of the key learnings from her beyond the technical side?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she was a very, like you said, very formidable woman, very impressive, super smart, but also a great advocate for any of the young members in the team, but particularly supporting sort of women in science. So I think she took me under her wing a little bit when I first joined the company. I think what would I learned? Definitely don't be afraid to ask hard questions. I think she was always questioning everything. Which doesn't always make you the most popular person in the room, but of course you can do that in a way that is always looking for continual improvement and innovation and unlocking potential. Never be afraid to ask questions. She was always very I think independent as well, so kind of looking to you've got to support yourself, you've got to look out for yourself and find your own path, I think. But always continually learning as well, I guess, coming back to the questions. But she was, I don't know how she fitted in the additional study she was doing on top of her role as well, but like I said, like you mentioned, she was always looking for opportunities to improve and learn. Very inspirational.
Amazing. And I found out in this section, why chemistry? Why kind of, was that a choice when you were young? You're always interested in it, or where did the choice to study chemistry come from?
I think definitely always had an interest in sciences in general. I think it probably came from more like the college age, like A-level age, where you go a little bit more in depth on different topics and you split out the different sciences to really understand. I think, especially in the UK, when you're at school, it's sort of science is a topic. So you sort of, people either like science or they don't like science. But actually, when you go into it, there's so many different aspects of science, and of course you could, theoretical physics is not for everyone, but there's a massive spectrum of things of topics that science covers. And I think just kind of when you dive a bit deeper into that later in your studies, then just kind of understanding the aspects that you do learn and you do enjoy or don't enjoy. You'd picked out, even within chemistry, chemistry is still massively broad. I sort of like to think that it's the interim between sort of biology and physics as well. It's kind of got a little bit of both aspects. You're kind of on the spectrum in the middle, and then I think really this material, like physical material side is the area that I've obviously landed, that I've found the most interesting. And I think, like I said, maybe it's just having something more tangible to work with is the element of that I enjoy. But I think as well, like this kind of very logical troubleshoot, as you picked up on, maybe that kind of that way of thinking. I think always also had my sort of brain works in that way, I guess, in that kind of logical approach. But
amazing.
I think chemistry really leans into that.
Of the sciences, I studied physics and chemistry. I mean, I did particularly well, but chemistry was always the one that I kind of gravitated towards. It just made more sense to me, especially organic chemistry. Quite enjoyed the cell structures and learning about that. And I was good at maths at GCSE, but when that A-level in physics, I thought, that's just going to be straightforward. It's like, no, that's
step change, isn't it?
A bit of a step change for my brain.
Before we dive back in, this one is for founders and CEOs building physical products. If you're thinking about hiring a VP of product, chief product officer, or head of R&D, this is not just another hire. It's find how your roadmap is set, how your teams are built, and how your company competes. At Kodu, we specialise in securing senior product and engineering leaders for hardware businesses entering their next stage of growth. Focused, discreet, high consequence. If that decision is on your horizon, find me, Chris White, on LinkedIn, and let's talk it through.
But continue on with D3O then. You know, you mentioned obviously you joined as an intern, you stayed for the best part of 5 years, but it was, wasn't all comfortable. There was several round of redundancies while you were there. People more senior than yourself were let go. But from what you told me, instead of being shaken up you ended up with more responsibility and more exposure. Was that a conscious move, or did you just keep putting your hand up and the work kind of found you?
Yeah, no, I don't think it was particularly conscious at that point. I don't think I was really thinking about it strategically. I think I was just enjoying learning, and like you said, when there was opportunities that came along, particularly those opportunities at that time were in the form of, maybe traveling to China to visit factories or work on factory trials for launching new materials or new products implementation. And so I just thought that was a great opportunity. But yeah. Also, along with that, I just learned so much. I think, again, just having that kind of physical connection to things, seeing things in real life, particularly in this kind of product development approach where, seeing something being made, the theory of it being made, maybe even doing it on lab scale or prototype scale is one thing, but to actually be able to see that in the factory. And of course, if you're working closely with colleagues elsewhere in the world, to be, again, physically in the room with them, in the factory on site, you just learn everything just kind of progresses so much more quickly, and you learn so much more from those people that are working on these kind of products day in, day out. It's just a different world. So I think opportunities in that aspect, of course, just having the responsibility to run different projects from probably quite an early stage in my career. And I think just being trusted with that level of responsibility, again, just a great team around me to support me, great mentors and managers who gave me the responsibility of certain projects, sometimes through necessity, because maybe there wasn't anyone else to work on it. But I think I really thrived in that environment and was happy to sort of, I guess I've always just seen challenges, something positive rather than something too scary, and happy to dive head on and tackle those challenges. So I think my mindset and outlook on that kind of thing definitely helped me in that environment, because a sort of rapidly changing and evolving environment can be can be difficult for people. It's not necessarily comfortable for everyone. You have to be, like you touched on, sort of comfortable being a bit uncomfortable, I think. So
you've definitely got a let's give it a go kind of mindset, and what's the worst that could happen kind of thing. So you told me you're happy to say yes to a lot of things where where your colleagues might have shied away from it. You went to China, you've went to factories, when other people weren't so keen. And I think that's it's so easy to say no, isn't it? In today's world, it take a back seat, especially in medium to large organizations. So to have that, just let's give it a go. Let's do it. Bring it on. That's
you never know where it's going to take you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
absolutely. But talking about kind of getting out to China and factories early on, what did you see in those trips that the people who stayed behind didn't get to see?
Well, definitely not glamorous, in the factory till 10 o'clock at night, and getting hands on with the machinery and mixing materials and so definitely a lot of hands on exposure. But like I said, I think just really that learning from lab scale, and even going back to D3, we had great sort of prototyping facilities and almost like a mini factory environment, but still just actually seeing the difference between that sort of scale and the gap then when you go into to production, and some of the considerations there, I think it's really hard to sort of understand until you've seen it, and some of the key things that really make the difference between a successful product or innovation or not, because you can, you can have great ideas, you can have great products, but they need to be manufacturable and they need to be efficient in manufacture. So actually that side of it, which I still find very interesting, but it's, not potentially the most kind of, you wouldn't think there's the most innovation, but actually, designing something that's very suitable for manufacturing at scale is really a key part of it, and learning that that's just as important as kind of all the other functionality and how it looks and how it feels and how it performs. It needs to be manufacturable at scale and efficiently. So thinking cycle times, how easy the material is to work with or source, like lead times on materials, cost of materials, how much like a cycle, increasing cycle time or increasing the temperature needed to cure a material, for example, or mold a material, the need to use a release agent in the process and how that can affect really the efficiency of everything. And you hear that reported back from any sort of trials, but actually seeing that and the knock-on effect to the efficiency in production is really
Absolutely.
interesting to see.
Well, the whole supply chain, the kind of and all the stakeholders of getting a product to market, it's like an organism, isn't it? Really, when you think about it. And if any one of those kind of links, is weak as a knock-on effect. So to see that and see the impact that each part is having on each other, it could be something tiny, like you say, but you're not going to spot that if you're not in the room, or you're not going to, it's not going to resonate with you, as deeply on a page as it is, seeing it and the impact that a decision someone kind of 3 steps before had made, and how that can impact later on. But
for sure. And I think that also comes back to working for a fairly small company, just having that exposure to the different teams and the different functions within the business, the quality teams, the ops team, the sales teams. We all worked very, very closely together. So having that exposure, I think, from a very early stage of my career, to really understand all those sort of grounded in materials and product development side, but really understanding all of those other functions and what they needed out of it as well. Not working in silo.
Massively. So after nearly 5 years, decided to leave D3O, not because of redundancy in your case, but Tom, it's what you saw kind of in the factories, and the feeling like close to despair at volume of material being manufactured. What was the moment that really crystallized it for you, that you had to change?
I don't think it was a super drastic decision. I think I just felt, it was about time that I tried something different. I'd learned a lot, and nothing, like I said, nothing negative as such, but I just felt that potentially I could start to learn some new skills elsewhere, and potentially sort of broaden my skills, my knowledge base, by looking at some, like you touched on earlier, it's a very sort of niche industry. So I guess I was also concerned that maybe I was sort of going very, very deep into one sort of area without, taking the opportunity to potentially broaden my knowledge and skills in certain areas. So it took some time to think about what would be a good next step for me, and explore some different options. Considered going back to university as well in terms of some more studies. Again, I think it came around the time of COVID kicking in, so had a bit of time to sort of think, do some, home learning, studying. Got quite deep in different biomaterials and sustainability topics, and tried to understand where I could take a best next step. Like I said, I think for me it's just about learning and constantly evolving, and that was just an area that I was very interested in learning more about, particularly based on what I was working on, being in the kind of consumer goods development of these kind of products. I was very interested to understand if there was some way that I could better my skills to then be able to implement that into that kind of role, and think about options for end of life, or even design of products that would be more sustainable for the future.
Brian, you told me that you spent some time consulting, trying to get into bioplastics. You spoke of Shellworks, Oceanium, some seaweed-based kind of materials, and then a bit of a sideways step on paper, the knowledge transfer project, partnership project with the nappy recycling plant. So came away with some really serious new knowledge in waste streams and polymer recycling. Because for those listening that don't have children or have never changed a nappy and looked at a nappy up front, there's quite a complex bit of bit of equipment that we just throw away into landfill. With all the material absorption. So it sounds like that year, it's like quite an investment in yourself, as much as anything. So what were the key kind of takeaways from that KTP?
Yeah, I think, so going back to, like you said, I think I'd tried interviewing for some different roles, which I was quite interested in, but quickly realizing that I didn't necessarily have the kind of background or skills or knowledge necessarily to be getting into those kind of industries. So then when I saw this opportunity, it felt like it was bridging that gap of that link to the university, continued learning, but also a bit of applied knowledge in terms of the polymer science aspect. Some things that I could bring to the role in terms of my knowledge of those kind of materials. I mean, definitely learned a lot. Again, I think you learn a lot from the companies that you work for and the people that you work for. Again, the owner of, or the the guy in charge of Metasort, the owner of Metasort, he was, again, a very, very interesting, a very innovative leader. And so, I learned a lot from him in terms of approaching new challenges. So Metasort were essentially a medical waste treatment facility. And again, he saw this opportunity for, so not only nappies, any absorbent hygiene products. So that covers, of course, like more incontinence products in elderly patients, which again is massive. Also female sanitary products as well. So like you said, it's a massive, massive area where there's waste. So sort of identifying that as a problem, but also as an opportunity to really unlock some innovation and bring some value so he was approaching it from the waste management side, but understood that it was a lot more complex than some of the medical waste that he was dealing with, in order to really sort of revalorize that kind of waste. Like you said, it's relatively complex and very optimized products. That's why they work so well, these disposable nappies. And although there's many different initiatives to kind of redesign or maybe make them from monomaterials or biomaterials or reusable products, but in the end the disposable approach is really, really convenient for parents, people on the move. It is very convenient. They work very well. Your child is very comfortable because they work so well. And that's, of course, one of the main concerns of a new parent, of course, is their child being comfortable and happy and healthy. So really kind of looking at it more from the approach of what could be done with that end of life. Really, really, as you said, learned a lot about kind of possible options for recycling or revalorizing those kind of waste products. So going quite deep. Obviously, there's the kind of microbiology element as well, with it being like a human waste product. So also learn a lot about the kind of regulatory side of waste, which I think, again, didn't sort of realize at the time how relevant that would be across different products. But, different regulations in different countries also can actually be, a barrier to a lot of these initiatives or innovations for revalorizing waste, whether that's through recycling or reusing. So it's a lot. I think that was one of the aspects that I didn't have a good grasp of, was this kind of regulatory side and really understanding the waste disposal processes for how different waste are categorized and how that can vary, like I said, from country to country as well. Also adds another
county
level
to county in some cases.
as well.
Exactly,
complexity. Of course, the collection of the waste. I mean, even as part of my role, went around on some physical waste collection runs, because they were trialing in the county there because that's one of the main issues, is that at the moment any absorbent hygiene products go directly into sort of landfill waste bin bags. So one of the also challenges, you can prove it on a technical point, but also I think that's where the link between the university and the company working on a project was very interesting, because you had that very practical element as well of, well, okay, well, how do we actually collect that waste material? How is that going to be sorted, separated, even if we can on a very small scale prove that it can be, recycled? And how does that actually work in reality? And again, I think that's something that kind of real life impact in the real world scenario is something that's been very interesting to me. I think being able to prove it on a lab scale is one thing, but also then being able to really understand how that practically would work and what the limiting factors are. So like I said, whether it's regulatory, whether it's just logistics, or physical blockers.
Were there any key wins? 'Cause it sounds like a year isn't anywhere near long enough to really scratch the surface on that, given how how complex the problem is. But any tangible wins in that time?
So Mentorship had investment. They'd secured some investment. So I was, again, supporting with some various grants. So there were various grants that you could apply for to continue, like you said, continue the work beyond the scope of the KTP. So I think the KTP was almost like a first feasibility, but clearly a lot more work to be done in order to continue. So towards the end of my role there, I was helping to secure some grants. And Medisort had been able to secure some land as well to actually build this facility. So that was something that again would have been exciting to see, and need to check in on how they're getting on. But that was the plan, to go ahead and build this plant. And lots of technical challenges along the way, but like I said, there were some great initiatives to support these kind of like grants and things to support funding this. But it's a big challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well. Wow. So and now Koroyd won 3 Red Dot Awards last year in 2025, a Monaco Economic Board Innovation Award. I think you won an award for the work you did on the glove as well, and was acquired by MIPS for 40 odd million euros last year in December. So for people who don't know the company, and Koroyd, perhaps you could tell us where the name comes from first, because we chatted about that before we press record. What's actually been built there, and why does it matter?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the origins of Koroyd actually came from, it was based on an airplane disaster, basically, in the UK. And there was some studies after that, after some fatalities in that aircraft disaster, and it was really looking at the best way to absorb energy, particularly under the seats of passenger planes. And through that study, it was found that these kind of tubular core structures are the most efficient way of absorbing energy, and can crumple very efficiently, and through that deformation absorb the energy. And then there was basically an idea to miniaturize this, use different materials, and that could be potentially used as a body protection element, particularly focused on helmets and protecting the human body in that way. So the origins of Koroyd really is this tubular core structure. So it's kind of extruded cylinders, which are then welded together to make this structure, which, like I said, is a very efficient structure for absorbing energy. So it crumples when it's subjected to high impact force, and that deformation, plastic deformation, very evenly and efficiently absorbs high levels of impact. So it can be used, for example, in helmets to protect the user's head when they're subjected to high impact force. So it's a tubular core structure, and the founder of the company, John Lloyd. So that was the origins of the name. So core and Lloyd. So doing that together, you've got Koroyd. So that was the origins of the company. Very, very successful. Been around that was around 15 years ago. We celebrated 15 years of the company last year. So the very first products were based around helmet applications, and a lot of that focused in the sports markets. Since then, it's really expanding into different areas of body protection. And since I joined around 4 years ago now, really looking at
diversifying our product range, innovations in new materials, new production processes, and looking at other opportunities for protecting the human body. So protecting life and motion is our that's what
That's the mission.
we're aiming to do. Yeah, that's our message.
Amazing.
So like I said, we've really expanded from kind of being very sports focused, but now we've got a lot of products within the industrial segment. So also helmets, but also looking at back of hand, so glove technology for the industrial market, other body protection applications for sports, motorsports, some military and defence body protection applications as well. So really, any application where you need some level of protection and safety, then we're building solutions for that, and really considering safety, of course, impact protection, but really tying that into user experience, user comfort, and focusing on comfort. One of the key points of the Koroyd material in the helmet applications is the amount of breathability that you can achieve with this kind of product, as opposed to, for example, like an EPS foam material, because this structure is very open, so you get very high level of breathability. So that really contributes to the comfort of the end user, airflow, thermal comfort.
Yeah, amazing. And now inside a post-acquisition business, with more resource, a longer runway, huge new lab being built. What does that change for you personally, and what is and for what is possible in material innovation?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I think it's the opportunities are exciting to look forward to. Still some unknowns, of course. I mean, so the acquisition from MIPS, as you mentioned, that was in December last year. So we're still sort of working through some of the integration and how we continue to work together. I mean, it's something that makes complete sense if you know the market at all. So MIPS are very focused on rotational impact protection, whereas Koroyd have historically been very focused on linear impact protection. I think really just the ability to work together and collaborate is only going to help us innovate faster, being able to really share some knowledge on different aspects that we've both been working on. MIPS have a very impressive team and go very deep on the science and research side. So we're already learning a lot from the team there. But I think also the way that we've sort of diversified our portfolio of different materials, there's definitely interest on their side for all these new technologies that we've been launching in the last year. And just really that collaboration, I think, is just a way to accelerate innovation even further. Working with the teams now. For example, we've got a testing machine that they sent down from their lab just last week. There were some issues we were having with some particular testing, and instead of us having to go to an external test lab, which could take weeks for us to get a testing slot, for example, or have to travel elsewhere, they just sent us their test equipment, and we can be cracking on with solving those problems straight away. So examples like that just show how quickly we can start to innovate and collaborate together.
Let's pause for a minute. If you need a contract mechanical engineer next week, the easy option is to pull a list of keyword matches and hope one sticks. It's not what we do. At Kodu, we work exclusively in physical product development. We know what good looks like at senior level because we've spent over a decade in this market. Every contractor we introduce is properly vetted, referenced and assessed for real delivery experience, not just software skills on the CV. We can move in under 24 hours, but we do not compromise on quality to do it. So if you need proven contractor support without the gamble, connect with me, Chris White, on LinkedIn, and let's move properly.
Amazing. And you're hiring now, so we're working on on 3 assignments with you. So this is all very fresh. So anyone listening, kind of when this podcast comes out, roles are open. So please do reach out. But building a team is part most people find harder than the actual technical work, harder than they anticipate as well. You've managed 1 or 2 people before. You're now hiring 3 at once into a business that has just been acquired, a new facility on the way. So there's a different challenge here. So where does your head go when you think about kind of what this team needs to be?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, it's a evolving, changing environment. we're looking to grow, take on new projects, like you said, grow the team physically as well, move to a new facility. So definitely someone who's open to challenges and has the right sort of mindset and attitude, I think, to come on the journey with us. It's a really exciting moment, I think, to be within Koroyd, and with the opportunities together with MIPS and the team there. There's definitely a lot of excitement for the future, but of course some unknowns as well. So I think someone who's sort of comfortable with that sort of environment and slightly evolving environment. I think that kind of attitude and mindset is going to be very critical when we start building the team to look at scalability for the future.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you're very much let's give it a go. What's the worst going to happen? Let's that kind of profile like you've been throughout your career as well. That's going to do quite well there. So in terms of the roles you're hiring, though, it's 2 product design engineers and an industrial designer. Obviously not the same skill set, and they're not the same kind of person. What does each of these roles actually need to bring that the other cannot?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so they'll all be going into sort of our R&D department, but we've got slightly different focuses in the different roles. So I think one of the product design engineers will be more focused on the front end, so really the R&D, the feasibility, the proof of concept stage. So really looking to work on the next innovation, the pipeline, so what's really coming in the future, potentially slightly longer term projects. Bit more deep on the kind of research, market analysis, user studies side, and then another product design engineer, which will be more on the implementation side. So that's really focusing on how we get the best value out of the technologies that are potentially already developed, how we integrate them into different products. So there's still quite a bit of sort of design work in there, because it's not always integrated. So being an ingredient brand, obviously you're working with many different customers, and they all got different requirements, and it's really how we best integrate our technology to give them the best product at the end. So that's really a lot more sort of customer facing, working on lots of different customer projects, really kind of finding the best integration, like I said, for existing solutions. And then the industrial designer sort of in the middle of the product development pathway, I would say. So they'll be in the MPD team. So really working on kind of full product developments, potentially with sort of new innovation, new materials, new processes that have potentially been worked on the R&D side, proven to some extent, but really working on the design aspect of that. Prior to kind of the implementation stage. So sort of breaking out into different stages along the product development pathway. So looking, like you said, for slightly different profiles within that to meet those different requirements in the teams.
Amazing. And so you've mentioned a few times about having mentors as you've kind of grown through your career. People to push you into things, give you space to grow. And your mentor at D3O was a visible advocate for women in engineering. So when you think about the team you're building now, what kind of what does that kind of investment actually look like in practice from your side at Koroyd? Or Koroyd, sorry. So again.
So you mean what am I looking for the future?
In terms of someone joining the business, when they're mid-level in their career, I guess, but what kind of investment are you, as a manager, as a leader, what could they expect from you?
Yeah, well, like you said, I think I feel like I've learned so much in the past from those people that I've worked from. So I hope to some small extent I can pass that along. And I think any knowledge or experience that I do have, I'm very happy to sort of share transparently and openly. I think I've learned a lot when I've had sort of been trusted with a high level of responsibility. So I'd like to think that I would be a similar sort of leader in that aspect, having that trust in, and that's of course where the recruitment aspect comes in and is very critical, getting the right people in and then really being able to trust them to run with it and run the projects to some extent how they see best, and really getting the best out of those people, rather than trying to tell them exactly what to do or how to do things, but really leaning on the knowledge and experience that they have, and just trying to guide them through that, and giving them the space. And again, growing the team is the idea that we can all have a bit more space. We're not sort of rushing through projects too quickly. And yeah, you need to, I think, for any sort of innovation environment, you need to create a bit of space around the team to really allow them to work through their process. It's a great team here. We've got quite a range of team in terms of the level of experience and background. Some have been at the company for 7+ years. Some are slightly newer joined, but have had experience in slightly different industries. Some have come from very technical academic backgrounds and helmet studies. So yeah, definitely a lot of people to learn from, I think, within the team as well. And then you kind of compound that with the MIPS team as well, and the access that we have there to their sort of departments of product development, science, virtual test labs, so FEA modeling, and they've got a really great depth of experience as well. So really great to have that to sort of work and collaborate with as well moving forward.
Amazing. And when you've got someone in interview, what is the thing, in the room that tells you the person that has it, that maybe you're not seeing on a CV, or it's not the degree, it's the conversation, it's the interview. What kind of tells you that they've got it?
Yeah, I think for me it's definitely an attitude. So really that level of sort of curiosity, a bit of openness, being interested to learn and develop, not being afraid to ask questions, but also I guess not being afraid to not know the answer as well, and but being happy and comfortable to learn and evolve. And like I said, I really think having the right attitude and openness to new challenges and new experiences, I think is really key.
Yeah, absolutely. And for someone coming to work at Koroyd in Monaco, obviously the lifestyle is part of the conversation. By the sea, in the sunshine, it's a lot nicer than most of the UK most of the time. But you've lived it, what do you tell people honestly when they ask what it's actually like, not just the version that I've just described, or the holiday brochure version?
I mean, it honestly does feel like you are just in one of the most unique and amazing parts of the world. Of course, there are some challenges I could come onto that, but I think just it's so unique just having the mountains and the sea, as you touched on. I grew up by the sea, and that's something that's kind of a non-negotiable to me. I think being close to water, but having that added bonus of being near the mountains. You've got snow in winter, but also amazing hiking and bike trails in the summer. So you've got Italy just half an hour over the border, so you can take a day trip into Italy. It really is a very unique place to live, and very sort of outdoor culture, I think, because as a function of the weather and the environment, everyone wants to be outside and doing outside, whether that's being active or just sitting outside and having your lunch on a nice terrace with a glass of rosé. So it's it is a very nice way of life. I think it's certainly a challenge to relocate anywhere. So I think considerations for relocating can be massive, in terms of having that kind of support network nearby. Obviously, choosing where you live, there's always the compromise. Of course, the office is based in Monaco itself. It's not necessarily feasible to live in Monaco, so everyone's sort of commuting in. Right. So again, that's a bit of a personal choice as to whether you prefer to have a bit of a longer commute, and therefore you have a bit more choices of where you live, or there's obviously closer places to Monaco with slightly less choice but reduced commute times. But I mean, I think that's kind of the compromise that many people have, and it's all this kind of never-ending question of work-life balance, and I think that's just a really personal preference. Absolutely. And I think but I think you can find different options here. I think being in the office with the team, we've got a great environment here. Like I was mentioning earlier, the team were just out for their lunchtime run along the coast before it gets too hot to run at lunchtimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, having that atmosphere in the office is great. And then yeah, outside of work, then yeah, it's just finding that balance and the location that works, whether you want to be in the centre of Nice or somewhere a bit out in the mountains. There's different options depending on your preferences.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I know Nice is about 25 minutes away, isn't it, on the train? So I mean, for most people, that's it's quite a comfortable commute. I've been on that train as well. It's it's a lovely like I tend to get work done on my train into Birmingham, but the scenery is not as nice. I
Yeah.
think I've been looking out the window at the sea. So
It's a bit
um,
distracting, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So um, we're coming up to the end. I appreciate the time there. We've kind of rambled off some of the signposts that I had on my kind of prep here, but we've actually covered most of it in the rounds in the conversation. So I want to talk about what's next then, and then wrap up with some quick fire questions if we have time. But um, you're in a business that's just been acquired, building lab. It's got a 10-year innovation roadmap, so there's a lot of forward momentum all at once. Um, what are you most excited about, for the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, really excited to build the team, get some new faces into the team, to really build on what we've grown already and the great foundation that we have. But yeah, using that as an opportunity to unlock some new innovation. I mean, if you look at the past few years, we've launched several new technologies and new products. So I think the unknown of what's next is exciting. And I think, really looking to integrate with the team at MIPS and how we navigate that together is also a very, very exciting moment. Like you said, when we actually move into our new facility, then again, I think we'll see an acceleration there in terms of how we can innovate and test. We're waiting on some new test equipment and things like that. So again, I think having more facilities on site are going to really accelerate that innovation path.
And with the obviously the MIPS acquisition, moving into the new world-class testing facility, the lab, hiring 3 people within the R&D and product development, what does Koroyd actually look like? When you've got those 3 people in place, when you've moved site, what does it unlock for you?
So like you said, I think delivery on the plans that we do have in place for, we've got a vision pipeline of projects which are already sort of planned out for the next few years, but we need to start thinking, of course, beyond that. I think really looking to be a head-to-toe solutions provider for our customers. So we've got a lot of customers who are potentially already buying products for their helmets, really looking to us to be that solutions provider across their product range. So we've got a lot of opportunities, whether it's sort of in footwear, other areas of body protection, lots of other PPE applications within the industrial segment. So we've got a lot of projects that are sort of in the pipeline that we're waiting to have that resource to really make a start on. So really grounding ourselves in the technology and the knowledge that we do have on materials and also structures, and focusing on the safety element, but really looking how we can integrate that into new product applications. And I think that's where it's exciting, seeing that kind of crossover and how you can transfer knowledge or skills or technologies from maybe one industry to another or one application to another.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we're right at the end now. There's last straight. Got some quick fire questions for you, Felicity. So I'll just fire these at you. Just say the first thing that comes to mind. Hopefully we can. I can say these without tripping over my tongue. It's usually how these go. But question 1: the most important thing a material scientist brings to a product design team that nobody mentions on a job spec.
Most important thing of material scientist. I don't know. What do I bring to the team? The team like to call me the mad scientist. I think
Yeah.
it's potentially a unique angle of material knowledge and production processes. So really thinking about outside the box in terms of the materials that could be used that are not already listed on a spec sheet, for example, and thinking about new options and new materials.
Yeah, great. Saying yes to something that terrified you, what did it teach you?
That it's okay not to know what the future holds and where the path's going, but as long as you've got a good support network, whether that's kind of personal, professional, or you're feeling well supported, then you don't need to necessarily know exactly what's happening next. You can just go with the flow, and you definitely will find your way.
Yeah, awesome. A common assumption about sustainable. Oh, there we go. Untie my tongue. A common assumption about sustainable materials that you genuinely find frustrating.
That I think, I think it's just that plastic is the worst thing in the world, and that should just be completely cancelled. I think it's a much more complex topic than that, and there's so many great things about plastic materials, and yes, we need to be responsible about our material choices and what we're using them and how we're designing products. But there's many great properties of plastics, and it's not quite as simple as just getting rid of all plastics, and that's going to be the solution to all our problems.
It's a common theme on this podcast. Champion plastic in the right use. And then I'm going to give you two more. So Monaco versus Brighton, one honest advantage of each.
Well, I mean, so Brighton would have to be my friends, and pubs. I'll go with Brighton pubs as well.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, Monaco's got to be the weather and the scenery.
Absolutely.
That too. That's cheating.
It's kind of it's a 2-for-1. So, and then finally, the product you wish Koroyd's technology was inside that it is not yet.
Oh yeah, well that's actually maybe an opportunity upcoming where we got a query about something surf related. So I'm a keen surfer, so
Amazing.
had an inquiry from a surf brand recently. So that's one that I'll be definitely interested in following up on, just
Very
for
cool.
my personal personal benefits for some on-product testing.
Yeah, in interesting test conditions as well. I'm guessing.
Exactly, it's actually quite an interesting challenge for materials, because like salt water is actually a very, like you said, that kind of environment can be very challenging for the materials, and making sure you've got durability in different environments is always a material challenge. So yeah, like you said, definitely an interesting one as well.
Yeah, really interesting. So, and quite messy in the new lab as testing. So brilliant. Well, Felicity, it's been genuinely great having you on the show. I really enjoyed our conversation. And obviously, for anyone listening that wants to follow what you're building, what Koroyd are building, or is thinking about their career right now and thinking, that sounds interesting. Obviously, they can reach out to me, and we can obviously talk to them about that. But where's the best place for them to find out about yourself and Koroyd?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can obviously go to our website or find us on LinkedIn, and you should be able to get all the information for contacting us for the job applications or any other questions or queries. Then please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and I'll drop a link to your LinkedIn on the show notes as well. But yeah, Felicity, thank you so much for sharing your story. And it's been great having you on the show.
Thanks, Chris. Speak soon.